Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is Mamun Tayyab. I teach O and A levels accounting. I'm based in Karachi. Um, in my previous video, I have discussed the basic term assets, which is very important to understand at the beginners level who are starting their O levels in accounting. They must understand the term assets, which I have done in the previous video. You can find in my YouTube channel a separate video discussing the terminology assets. Today we will discuss the second term, and that is liability. Liability is owing, payable or obligation of business. Any amount that the business has to pay, any amount that the business has to pay, any payable of the business, any obligation towards third parties to pay a certain sum of money, that amount is a liability of business. Liabilities can be of two types: non-current liability and current liability. Non-current liabilities are the liabilities that you have to, as a business has to pay after 1 year. Any amount that business is supposed to pay after 1 year, it is non-current liability. For O and A levels accounting purposes, bank loans are assumed to be a non-current liability if not specifically stated otherwise. Right? They are the examples of non-current liability. If a business has taken a bank loan for a period of more than 1 year, the terms and condition is that the business have to repay this amount after 1 year. That becomes the non-current liability of the business. Another bank loan, another example of non-current liabilities can be debentures. An alternative term used for bank loan may be debentures, and debenture is an acknowledgement of debt. Acknowledgement of debt. If the business has taken a loan, then they must have written somewhere the terms and condition of the loan, repayment, interest, etc. That document, that note, that bond, that security, or anything in writing as an acknowledgement it is an acknowledgement that we have taken a loan as business from you. That particular document is a debenture. You can understand like this: a debenture is a non-current liability. Whenever a question appears in exams and debenture is written there in the trial balance or in any other information, you will have to treat it as a non-current liability. Current liabilities are payables or obligations of the business that are to be paid by business within a period of 12 months. Any amount that is payable by business within a period of 12 months is current liability. Examples of current liabilities are: number 1, trade payable. Another name of trade payable is account payable. Another name is creditor. The amount payable or the account payable or trade payable or creditor means that we have to pay, as business we have to pay someone because we have bought goods on credit. If my business has bought goods on credit from someone and I have not yet paid the amount, the term and condition will definitely be there in the between the buyer and the seller, that I will pay after 1 month or 15 days or 20 days or 10 days, whatever, but the period will not be definitely more than 1 year. So it is my current liability because we have to whom business has to pay on account of credit purchases. If I have made credit purchases, I have to repay, I have to pay the amount, and it is my liability. Unless I pay the amount, the business will not be provided with further goods and my cycle will get disturbed. So I have to pay within a 1 month period because I have bought goods on credit. Second example is accrued expenses. Accrued means ACCRUED. It spells like this: ACCRUED. Accrued means owing. Accrued means owing. Let me write here. Accrued means owing, outstanding, and another term is arrear. These are the terms which can be substitute of accrued. But for O levels, we usually use term accrued for the expenses. Expenses, when they become due, business has to pay. If business, for example, in some cases fails to pay the expense when it becomes due, they are bound to pay in that particular year, because if they will not pay the expense, the facilities against the services that they are getting, they won't be getting against that amount. For example, if the telephone bill of January is to be paid in the month of February, once it comes to in the month of February, If you will not pay this, it will be a liability, it will carry forward, and you have to pay in the next month along with the current one. If you won't pay this, the telephone facility will be disconnected. Same goes for electricity. So if an amount is due but you haven't paid, it becomes your current liability. At the end of the year, if the amount is due, if the expense is due but you haven't paid, it is a current liability. You have to pay immediately so that the benefit you are drawing from the service provider continues, otherwise they will be discontinued. So any amount payable is any amount payable against any expense which was due but you haven't paid for it, that becomes your current liability, and that is called accrued expenses. It says expenses due but not paid. For example, electricity owing, rent owing, etc. Bank overdraft. Bank overdraft. We as business, we always have a bank account. We always maintain a bank account, right? We can withdraw the amount up to maximum of what we have in our bank balance, in our bank. We cannot go beyond that amount in general. But in very specific cases, if you have a very good relationship with the financial institution, with the bank, and you have an agreement with the bank that in case at any point of time you need more money than what you have in your bank account, the bank will pay you on your demand. That amount becomes your current liability, and that amount is called bank overdraft. Bank overdraft क्या होता है? Amount drawn in excess of bank balance. Whatever bank balance you have, if you are withdrawing over and above that amount, that becomes your current liability, and you have to pay in that particular, you have to pay within 1 year that amount. If you fail to pay that amount, that benefit that you enjoyed will be subject to interest, of course. This is one thing, but the other thing is that your trust relationship, your credibility with the bank will going to damage, and in future you might not get this arrangement. So bank overdraft is your current liability, you have to pay. So we have discussed two terms, assets and liabilities. In my next video you will find capital. ठीक है? Thank you very much.